All right, guys. So in this episode, we are going to talk about passive homes and net zero homes. How is that affected by City of Vancouver's new regulations coming out in fall 2023? Hey everyone, as you know, in the fall of 2023, the City of Vancouver will be voting to amend the zoning and development bylaw. There are going to be a ton of changes, which, if used properly, can definitely benefit homeowners, builders, and developers like you. Now, to help educate the public on this topic, we at Phase 1 have created a series of videos which are going to help you to understand what these changes are and what they mean for your development. Hey everyone, welcome to Dream Homes with Kathy. I'm Kathy Yuen.
I'm Nicholas Petrie.
And welcome to the series. Our team at Phase 1 and I have helped over 700 homeowners design their dream homes over the last 17 years. This channel is dedicated to sharing our knowledge with you. Don't forget to download our resources that are linked down below, which will help you understand a lot of these changes.
Or you can use the link to our consultations. You can book a consultation with one of us and we can help you directly with your property.
Yes, absolutely. Now with all that being said, let's dive in. All right, so first let's get our terminology straight because Vancouver has done something very interesting with the terminology. So everybody out there I'm sure has heard the terms passive house, net zero, et cetera, et cetera. So what City of Vancouver has done is...
So they've combined everything together into one incentive. It's called the Zero Emissions Incentive. Mm-hmm. The whole idea there is zero greenhouse gases being emitted into the environment. So that's the reason they're using the Zero Emissions Initiative. That includes passive house construction, and house means building in German, so it's passive buildings. So it doesn't have to be a house, it could be a tower, could be anything. Net zero buildings, which you probably all heard of, and that's the idea that you're gonna, at the end of a year, consume a zero amount of electricity because you're going to be putting things back into the grid through solar power and so forth, or any other kind of renewable resource. Mm-hmm. And then the zero emissions one, which is kind of amalgamation of those two. I don't normally deal with zero emissions, so I can't get into too much detail on it. I do have net zero and passive more than anything.
Thanks for the clarification.
You're welcome.
All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is FSR, everybody's favorite topic, because everybody wants to know how big can I build my house. So it's very cool because now with the new regulations, the calculations for zero emissions buildings have been simplified.
Yeah. So on that note, what has happened used to be a much more complicated calculation that had some pros and some cons to it. But with the new one, it's very simple. It's just straight. Whatever if you were allowed 60% before, 70% before, 85, whatever it was, you times it by 19%, and that is how much extra square footage you can exclude, right? So
easy math.
Very easy math.
We like that.
At the same time, there is also, I should mention, a mechanical room exclusion, which is a little complicated in and of itself.
It's a little bit of a gray area right now too. It's not like official.
Yeah, so. And there's a certain amount, so long as your mechanical room is a certain size, then you can exclude about 2/3 of that size. Like I said, a little complicated, and they may have some rules with regard to HRVs, but we're gonna get into that because we wanna see how it actually shakes down in the final rulings from the city.
Absolutely. The next couple things we're gonna talk about, I love because it also influences the design and it gives us some more design flexibility. We're gonna talk about building depth and building height.
Yeah. So building depth, now this will only in the new rules apply to the RT and RM zones. The new R1-1 zone will no longer have building depth in it, so it doesn't apply to that, but it does apply to the others. And what it is that they're going to give us a blanket 2 extra feet of building depth for those buildings. So that's 2 extra feet of deck, 2 extra feet of house, 2 extra feet of whatever it is, right? Very straightforward, very simple. I like that it's nice and cleaned up. Building height, this is being simplified. Used to be that it was up to 1 extra meter of building height or 3.3 feet of extra building height, but it was up to the director of planning to decide how much you actually got, and you didn't always get
which means it's discretionary. Director of planning is essentially a discretionary based decision.
And you never know what the final decision is going to be. and you usually didn't get the full height. So now they've just straight across the board said it is 0.6 meters or 2 extra feet of building height. And it's a very simple calculation. Once again, I love the new simplified.
Simplicity is good.
Yes, something you can predict and deal with.
All right, so one last thing that we want to touch upon is caveats with regards to the passive rules.
Yeah, so the one big one, and then there's a couple of small ones. The one big one is if your house is more than 5,000 square feet, it has to be a triplex if you want to get the zero emissions incentives. Triplex or quadplex, but more than 2 units. If it's 2 units or less, you're not going to be eligible for 5,000 square foot and up houses. Doesn't mean that you might not want to still have a net zero house or a passive house. They're very comfortable. They're perfectly temperature controlled and climate controlled all year round, and they're healthier. You have better indoor air quality no matter what time of year. So there's some definite advantages, but for those bigger houses, you want to figure out how to come up with a triplex option. So please feel free to reach out to us. As experienced residential designers, we're sure that we can come up with a way to get you what you need that way. So just one final caveat that I just want to mention. How these rules are written, and once again, we have to see how it's going to exactly shake out with the City of Vancouver, but the way it's currently written, if you try and apply many other exclusions to it, all of a sudden you don't get that 19% exclusion anymore. So you're going to have to work within the limitations of what you get with the 19%, but it's still an easier, simpler system to use.
Absolutely, yeah. One other thing that I think is really important to mention for those of you out there who are interested in whether it be a passive home or a net zero home is a concept called IDP, which stands for Integrated Design Process. What that really is at the very, very beginning of the process, instead of just engaging your building design team, which don't get me wrong, you definitely want your building design team to be highly experienced and highly familiar with all the regulations, but as equally important, you want to make sure that there's other professionals at the table, and specifically being a professional experienced home builder, any sort of other consultants that is going to help inform the process at the very beginning, especially for any time, again, like that you're doing a passive home. Yeah,
so if I may just talk about that for a second. So at the beginning of your project, for a passive or net zero or zero emissions home, you want an experienced builder, you want an experienced building designer. You need an envelope engineer, you need a mechanical engineer, you want to have at least a conversation with your structural engineer. You want to have as many of those professionals in that room as possible
100%.
Because I've worked on a number of these projects. Every time we've had a scenario where the money didn't want to be spent to talk to the consultant at the beginning, those projects have always gone sideways and ended up with additional design costs later, additional hours, like the consultant's like, whoa, hang on, everything has to be redesigned. Your mechanical system can't be here, it's got to be over here, it has to be this big, not this. And you could plan for what you think is an appropriate size, but it turns out that particular shape of building, that particular size of building, maybe it's the hill that it's on, it has too much slope, whatever. It needs extra this, extra that.
You need all the professionals at the table to inform the design process from the start. So the first iteration is at least, you're getting the basic fundamentals of that building the way it needs to be. Obviously, there's always going to be revisions, but you don't want it to be a case of where you're like redesigning the entire building.
Exactly. And you want to be able to walk away with the comfort and knowledge that your project is going to move forward quickly 100%, afterwards.
And that's the other thing too. It definitely saves you a lot of time.
Yes, 100%.
Great. Awesome. And for those of you out there also looking for builder partners, we have tons of great ones as well. So, just speaking to the IDP process, if you are working with professionals, I mean, it's a pretty small group, I would say, even in the Lower Mainland. So, everybody kind of knows everybody. And if you need those professionals around the table, that's what we're here to help with.
Please come talk to us.
Yeah. All right. So there you have it. A high-level overview of how all the new City of Vancouver regulations is going to affect passive home and net zero homes moving forward. I know that we've gone through a lot of very technical information here, so we have linked a whole bunch of resources that you can consume at your own pace below. Feel free to download those.
Also, please feel free to reach out to us through our website. We have links. You can book a consultation. You can sit down and have a good conversation with our team, and we can help you with your specific project.
I'm Kathy Yuen.
I'm Nicholas Petrie.
And on behalf of the Phase 1 design team, thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.